live. Okay, got it. So thank you. I will have to sort of now mute it, and then I will be able to start it. Okay, we are there now live on YouTube as well. And I think we are good to start. Okay, quick check. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Parvesh, yeah. This auto typing, no? Sometimes this. Thank you. Thank you for pointing it out. Okay, chalo, let us start. Welcome everybody. Those of you who are watching us live, later on via replay. And we are going to do a very interesting topic. In fact, it's an extension of what we discussed last time. You know, last year, or rather in the last meeting, we sort of discussed what we call it as the Chaitra Shukla Pratipada, right? Which started yesterday, and a couple of months or last month when we discussed the whole logic of, you know, what is the new year, and we discussed the logic of 1st of Jan is not the new year, right? If you remember, we talked about the logic of why Chaitra Shukla Pratipada is important. Brahma had created the universe or the Kali Yuga on this particular day, starting from yesterday, which was Chaitra Shukla Pratipada. So a very happy new year to each one of you. Happy Navratras. And if you remember, we talked about the logic being that the sun and moon has to be in Pisces, you know, for the pralaya to happen. You know, this particular area of Pisces, between Pisces and Aries, is called as a Gandanta. What do you mean by Gandanta? Pisces is a water sign and Aries is a fire sign. So can fire and water coexist? Not, right? Both of them are trying to fight each other, so to say. So when there is a planet, you know, maybe one of the times I'll talk about Gandanta, a special topic. It's very interesting because even a single planet over there can actually make your life miserable, and it's very tough to remedy. But nonetheless, for today's topic, what we can focus is we call this as Pralaya and this as the start. So the Amavasya was causing the Pralaya, or what we call it as destruction. Whereas the Pratipada, or the first Tithi, is starting the construction. Right? So we are very clear. This was related to the Yuga per se. Now, when it comes to us as individual, you know, I've seen a lot of time people asking basic question like, hey, Kaartik, you know, how is Western astrology different to Vedic astrology? Or is Vedic astrology just a PR term, which, you know, fancy astrologers like you use? And they ask me, you know, what is one difference between the two? And I smile and ask them the birth itself. And they're quite shocked. They say that how is it different? And I tell them that, hey, listen, you know, Vedic astrology takes soul into consideration, karma into consideration. And more importantly, birth is not defined by a date. Birth is defined by amalgamation of many factors, generally 5 factors, which we call it as Panchanga. And the highest among them is Tithi. Why Tithi? Because Tithi is the union of sun and moon. See, the picture I have used is nothing but the union of sun plus moon. What is sun? Sun is the father. Or let's say Shiva. And what is mother? Mother is moon. And she is a Shakti. Right? So, the birth is nothing but a union of Shiva plus Shakti. Right? And what is that? Basically a Shivalinga. So a lot of times I've seen people make fun of Shivalinga and, hey, talking about various things. And I just laugh and tell them that, hey, these stupid people don't even know that Shivalinga is the basic concept of creation. Somebody who is so much in darkness, so much of ignorance, what do you talk with them? They are going to put some funny memes and people are going to laugh at it. But the fact remains that, hey, listen, our concept of creation, the root to of creation is based on Shiva and Shakti, the sun and the moon, the father and the mother. So anybody who thought that, their creation is based on how the films in olden days, right? When I was small, or rather when I was in my school days, we used to watch this Hindi movies. So whenever the hero and heroine would come together, they would show a flower coming together. And then they will show flower, and then a child would be born. And for a long time, even I felt that that is how the concept of creation works, right? In those days, the purity was much more there because there was no exposure to social media or less of corruption, so to say, right? But the fact remains that, hey, listen, the concept of creation is based on the mating process. It's based on the concept of Venus. It is based on the concept of the sperm fertilizing the egg, as simple as that. And that happens when there are two souls involved, Shiva and Shakti. And that is why the ultimate remedy for Tithi Pravesh is around the Shivalinga. Because the ultimate blessing of a new year is that, hey, you should be available, you should be there, you should be present during your next Tithi Pravesh. What if you pop out? Right? So our major faction or our major focus during the Tithi Pravesh should be on the Rudra Abhishek, as simple as that. And why, I'll tell you going forward. But we are very clear that, see, Tithi Pravesh is a concept which is an extension in a way of Chaitra Shukla Pratipada chart or the New Year chart. Okay. Now, let's, as always, I like to talk about the logic. Again, here it is type 1, it is Pravesh. Okay. So is the New Year on the 1st of January? We have a conclusive evidence and the answer that no. This year it was yesterday, right? Those of you who haven't attended my webinar last time, I have kept it open for a few days. You can go to my YouTube and check it out. It would be available for next 3 more days. Okay. So we know that no, the January 1st is not a new year. Again, it's a Western concept. In Western astrology or the Western concept, everything is chopped into, it's like a pizza, right? There are 12 pieces to the pizza. Okay, everybody born during this period is the first slice. Anybody born during the second period, is Taurian, and anybody born between this date to that date is Gemini. And Vedic astrology doesn't agree to that. It says that, listen, you are there for a reason. And if you are there for a reason based on your past life karma or pending karmas, you have to wait for the season when that particular reason gets activated, and only then can you get a father and mother, or say, let us say a Shiva Shakti is going to agree to sort of have a child. So there is always that gestation period. There is always that waiting period. You might have a boarding pass in your hand, but the flight is still not ready. The boarding yet not started. The flight might get delayed. Right? And if the karma is very short, or if it's a very, very shortish karma, the flight might even not land. Right? Which is a loss of pregnancy. Interesting concept, right? So we now know that on this particular day, or what we call it as Chaitra Shukla, is when Brahma created the whole world. So what do? We generally take all the world capitals, importantly, like for UAE, if I need to cast a chart, I'll cast it for Abu Dhabi, not for Dubai. As much as I might stay in Dubai and love Dubai, but I have to cast it for Abu Dhabi because that's the capital. You might stay in Mumbai, you can stay in Lucknow, wherever you are staying. But if you are in India, you will cast the chart for Delhi because that's the capital. We have talked about those concepts, right? Now, taking that concept to the next level. So if the birth of the country or the new year of a country is not defined by a particular date, how is your birthday defined by a date? Like I'm born on the 3rd of May, but this year my birthday is not on 3rd of May. Though Facebook and I'll get all those greetings and all those things on the 3rd of May, I know that. Because there will be an automation on Facebook which will tell all of you that, hey, it is Kaartik's birthday. Do you want to wish him? And you will wish me. But the fact of the matter is, and I also do sometimes wish based on Facebook alerts, because I'm not going to waste my time to check when the Tithi Pravesh is, etc. But yes, for my important people, etc., I always wish them on Tithi Pravesh day. Yeah. So we are very clear that something called as Tithi Pravesh is extremely important. Huh? And what do you mean by Tithi Pravesh? See, generally our birth is based on 5 factors, the Panchanga, right? So generally when you see a software, you will see there is something called as day lord, which is called as Varesha. Varesha is called as the day lord. Huh? This is the importance of Tithi. Huh? Tithi is basically, this is third one of bright half. So, between bright and dark half, like Krishna and Shukla Paksha, Shukla is the bright half, and third Tithi is Tritiya. Okay. So in this particular horoscope, or this particular screenshot, it is 3rd of Tithi, but you might not be born on the 3rd, like I am born on the 5th Tithi. But it is on the dark side. So it is Panchami. Okay. It can be Shukla Panchami, it can be Krishna Panchami. I'm not going into those details. So this is the second part of it. There is Tithi. Then there is something called as Karana. Taitila. Then there is something called as Yoga. I've talked about it a little in the other slides. And then last but not the least is the Nakshatra. Here we see it is Mrigashira. So this will talk about the overall Panchanga with which you are born. There are 5 elements. I always say that it is like, 5 fingers of a hand, right? Let's say if you don't have 2 fingers, or 2 fingers are very weak, can you sort of have a nice fist? No, right? But if all the 5 fingers are good enough, then yes, you have a powerful fist. You can pack a punch, or you can punch beyond your weight, right? But let's say you have no thumb, or your ring finger is badly hurt, then what happens? Then there is a huge element in your finger which is not working, as a result of which that fist is not strong enough. Right? So similarly, a Panchanga becomes extremely important element for a horoscope to be done. Okay. But when it comes to Tithi Pravesh, when it comes to birthday, see, how do you define a birth? When was your birth? For example, I'm born on 3rd of May. Okay. So am I born on 3rd of May? Or actually, was I born on the day I was conceived? See, I know for those of you who are not advanced astrologers, this might come as a shock. Now, there is also a chart, which is called as conception chart, which is basically factoring in on the time when actually the sperm fertilizes the egg. And at times, we do remedy based on that. And in simple terms, it is the 7th from your Janma Lagna. What do you mean by that? For example, I am Mesha Lagna. I am Aries ascendant. But when my conception was happening, I would be CL, conception Lagna. My conception Lagna has to be Tula. Why? Because I was upside down then. Because of that flip happening, I was able to take birth as a human being. So one thing is for sure, that my conception Lagna has to Tula. That's why a human being can have a nature which can be like Lagna or their 7th house. Especially for women, Stri Jataka, the 7th house is more prominent than the Lagna itself. Interesting, right? So we now know that, for even this conception to happen, you need a father and mother, or what we call it as sun plus moon. We need this combination, otherwise this birth cannot happen. We were not born by, those two flowers touching each other. We are very clear, right? So what is sun and moon? Sun and moon are father and mother, which is causing, and that particular angle is causing Tithi. And generally, for example, let's say sun and moon are together. And on the next day, in one day, let's say sun will move from, let's say they are at 10 degrees. They're both at 10 degrees. So sun will go to 11 degrees the next day. Whereas the moon will go to 13 degrees, which means that the difference is 12 degrees. So this 12-degree angle is causing something called as Tithi. Or shall we say, it is causing one Tithi. Okay. And then there are two halves, right? Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. So if it is 360 degree zodiac, there is 180 degree here and 180 degree here, the waxing and waning moon, right? So what is 180 divided by 12? 12 ones are 12, right? So 1, what is the remainder? 6. 6 will come here, 60. 12 5s are 60. So there are 15 tithis on the bright half and 15 tithis on the dark half, making total of 30 tithis, which is defining the different types of relationship. So now you know a new concept that, hey, actually there are 30 types of tithis, 30 types of relationships. And hence relationship is quite complicated concept, right? Nobody has got a perfect relationship. You are okay with your boyfriend, then you are fighting with your brother. You are okay with brother, you are fighting with your husband. If you are okay with husband, fighting with father. Okay with father, fighting with your boss. This Tithi is quite complicated. But however, some people are extremely lucky with relationships, right? They can pick up a phone and get anything done. They don't have huge money, but they know many people. For some reason, people like them. So our birth Tithi has a direct impact on our relationship as well, because that was the mood with which the husband and wife were involved. I just heard a case yesterday that a lady is pregnant, and as soon as she got the pregnant, they both decided to get divorced. That means, during that phase when they were actually with each other, the whole relationship was already in a mess. So how do you expect the child to have a fantastic Tithi? or the relationship of Tithi with the Lagnesh or Varesh. So in olden days or the ancient times, people used to take care of these things a lot. The astrologer used to tell the king that, hey, listen, these 3 Tithis in this month are superb, to basically try for a child. Or these 7 Tithis are superb for, trying a child. Because that would have a direct impact on the next king or the kingdom itself. So it's a very deep-rooted subject. Okay. Coming back to the whole concept that, now we know that because we are born because of Shiva Shakti, we are born because of a Shivalinga, we are born because of the process of a relationship between your father and mother, and the angle between the sun and moon is defined by Tithi. That's why it is Tithi Pravesh. Right? So now we know the reverse or the logic in terms of why it is called as Tithi Pravesh, why it's not called as Panchanga Pravesh, why it's not called as Vara Pravesh, but it is called as Tithi Pravesh. Right? The naming has to have a logic, right? Why it is called as so. So now you know that. So what is Tithi Pravesh? Tithi Pravesh is the chart. Basically I got this from Google just to tell you, how, this works. Tithi Pravesh is the horoscope drawn for the birth moment of the exact natal Tithi or the distance between the sun and the moon. I already discussed this and told you this is. See, at the birth, you have to be within that 12 degrees of sun and moon, right? Or any of those degrees. If it is in the opposite, then, Purnima, so on and so forth. So what is that exact degree of sun and moon will define the relationship. Okay. So typically the chart is drawn for the moment for the longitude and latitude and longitude of the birthplace as in the natal chart. So what does it mean? First and foremost, like the Chaitra Shukla Pratipada chart, we used to take the capital into consideration. For Tithi Pravesh, you will still take the birthplace as your Tithi Pravesh thing. For example, I am born, let's say, around Somnath in Gujarat. So if I am going to make my Tithi Pravesh chart, I am still going to consider that same place of birth and not Dubai as a birthplace. Why? Because my roots are still over there. There was a reason why I was born there. There was a reason why Sabarkantha has a special signification associated with my birth chart. Or why Gujarat has got an importance in my chart. Or why the Shiva Yoga has to manifest in my chart in my Lagna. Right? So we are clear about the basic concept. Now, important notes. I explained this a little to you, but let me check if I have not discussed anything. So we know that this angle between the sun and moon is most important. Everybody will have a different angle. Okay. Somebody who's born with Amavasya will have sun and moon together, but sun and moon together at what level, at what latitude, longitude, in which sign, all these things depend, right? This particular Tithi Pravesh is superb for short-term prediction. And frankly speaking, everybody needs a short-term prediction, right? We are not going to talk like an HR department, which will say that, where do you see yourself 10 years down the line and all those things. There's no going to be such things. When people come to you, clients come to you, or come to me rather, they are coming with a specific purpose that, hey, Kaartik, I have lost my job. When will I get my job? Kaartik, how is 2023 going to be for me? Should I expand in Russia, let's say, in this year? Should I open a branch office in Singapore? And if yes, when? So more or less, predictions are very, very generally 1 year, 2 year frame, right? Will I get married this year? Should I marry this girl? If yes, this year or next year? So what I mean to say, Tithi Pravesh is a very, very important tool that I use constantly for short-term prediction. You obviously go back to the Rashi chart and do all of the due diligence also. I'm not saying we don't do that, but I do look at it very closely. Yeah. Tajaka is other system which I use, and maybe I'll cover that, in some future webinars. So Tithi is also a relationship which gave birth to you. As I told you, sun plus moon equals to birth. Actually, we also say is Jupiter. And hence Jupiter is called as Jiva. You generally tend to take the dashas of both of them. And when you take, the dashas of both of them, it is 10 plus 6 equals to 16 years of Vimshotri Dasha for Jupiter. Or rather 6 plus 10. Yeah. So this is something which is so important. Shiva Shakti, we talked about Shivalinga. Please don't make fun of Shivalinga, because the moment you make fun of Shivalinga, technically you are playing with the concept of Tithi, playing with concept of longevity itself. Okay. Tithi of birth has a direct impact on relationship. See, this is something which I have talked about, multiple times. See, one is the Tithi Pravesh. What Tithi will be, obviously, it will be the same Tithi of birth. But what I mean to say, your Rashi chart has a direct impact on the Tithi Pravesh chart also, which we will talk about in the next webinar when we do on the 27th. But for now, what we want to understand that, hey, listen, there is one which is your natural core DNA, which is your Tithi based on the Rashi chart. And the other is your skill set for that particular year. Generally, a person can be very, very calm, but sometimes they become very cranky, right? They start fighting with everybody, and you feel that, hey, listen, this person is generally very calm. Why is he so impatient? At times the reverse happen. A very, very impatient person suddenly becomes very calm, suddenly says, no problem. I'm not in a hurry, Namah Shivaya. And you feel what happened? This person otherwise was so impatient. Ye kya ho gaya? So it has a direct impact. So we want to look at it. Okay. 12 degrees is the Tithi. I talked about it. I gave you the concept of sun and moon, and that example of 10 to 11 degrees would be, if sun is going to move, then moon is already on the 13th degree. So it has got an advantage of 12 degrees, so to say, defining one Tithi. Okay. Based on sun's motion of 1 degree, moon is going to move 12 degrees. Okay. That's why our mind, there's always a conflict of, if sun is our soul and moon is our mind, we are always on a constant conflict between the soul and the mind. Our soul tells us to do something, our mind tells us to do something. And that's life, right? So 180 degree we talked about, and 180 degree, total 360 degree is a zodiac, but 180 degree is one Paksha, Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. And then there are 15 Tithis on either side, from Shukla Pratipada to Purnima, and then Krishna Pratipada to Amavasya, right? K15 as we call. So there are 30 relationships possible, of 30 types of relationship. Hence, that concept of relationship status. Facebook has this thing, right? Complicated. So when they started this, I thought that, wow, this is like a confirmation of what the rishis taught us long back. Okay. Now this is a chart of Lord Ram. Okay. Now in Lord Ram, what is very, very clearly defined as he was born on Chaitra month. And he was born during the Navami Tithi. Okay. So Chaitra month is something which is Shukla Pratipada, just started, right? And on the 9th day is when he was born. Okay. So what we see, sun is in Aries, and moon is in Karka. So there is and the distance between them is the 9th Tithi, or the angle rather. Okay. Now, we all know that Ramanavami falls on different dates, right? Date is never defined. Why? Because the Chaitra month or the Chaitra Shukla Pratipada also keeps changing. Chaitra Shukla Pratipada is, when the sun and moon are in Pisces and there is a pralaya, and the moment Pratipada starts is the start of we draw a chart for that particular day, right? We are all aware about it. Similarly, when it comes to our birth time, we are very, very conscious about the Tithi and the month, so to say. So which day it is in this year, 2023? In 2023, it is on the 30th, So after a week or so, and we see that, in his natal chart, Sun is in Aries, but over here, Sun is in Pisces. And over here, Sun is in Mithuna. The distance is still, the angular distance will still be the same. Okay. If we see here, the Tithi is Navami. If we see the month is Chaitra, and it is the bright half Shukla. So it is Chaitra, Shukla, Chaitra month plus Shukla Paksha plus Navami. So these three conditions have to be met, and these three conditions have been met. It is Chaitra month, it is bright half Shukla, and it is Navami Tithi. So this particular thing, what Google says, that hey, Chaitra Shukla Ram Navami is on 30th of March, is correct. Are we all able to understand? Is it very logical and most of you are able to understand the whole concept of the angle between the sun and the moon? If you see, it is still the four signs from Aries to Cancer or from Pisces to Mithuna. The angle would still be the same. But for human beings, what we can do is now with the advent of software, etc., what we'll do in the next webinar is we can get the exact time. And what do we do with exact time? We use this exact time to do remedies. Okay. So now we are very clear that, hey, listen, the sun and moon doesn't need to be in the same sign also for Tithi Pravesh. My sun is in Aries, but in this Tithi Pravesh, my sun will move to Taurus when that exact conjunction is happening. Okay. But there is a very high chance that more often than not, sun can be in the same sign. Okay. Now, why is the Panchanga important? Okay. The Vara, the day in which you are born, Vara is called as Varesha, day lord. It defines the Agni, the fire. So it is extremely important in terms of the fire that is involved, your energy factor. Tithi, which we were talking about in Tithi Pravesh, is Jala element. Jala is what? Your relationship quadrant. Right? For relationships, there has to be some emotion, right? If somebody died, if somebody, frankly speaking, randomly dies, you don't sort of think about it, right? Unless and until you have met that person, you know that person, then you correlate. Oh yeah, that person had come to my house. We had a glass of coffee together. Oh yes, he is such a sweet person. There's that, because there is some emotional connect. That is Jala. Emotions. There is some sort of compassion, good or bad, that you have for each other. And that is the water element. And because of this Jala, it is going to be your relationship. Yeah. The nakshatra, very important, because when we talk about Tithi Pravesh, there is also something called as nakshatra Pravesh, which we'll talk about in the next webinar. That is associated with Vayu, which is about air, Vayu. And nakshatra is going to define your health. So depending on your Janma nakshatra, you are blessed with a good health or you're not blessed with a good health. There are some people, who have absolutely fine health. I remember my grandfather till the day he lived. He used to had a wonderful eyesight. He used to go, for his normal Vishnu puja every day to the temple. He used to do his things, this, that. And finally the day came, but, he didn't have any major sort of health issues. So your nakshatra lord, and nakshatra lord is very important even in predicting a good year, bad year in terms of health, death, etc. Yeah. Then comes the Karna, which is associated with Prithvi Tattva or the earth element. Prithvi is Ganesha, associated with your career. So the Karna is associated with your career. And finally, last but not the least, is the Yoga, which is associated with Akash, the sky up above, Jupiter. And that is going to define the purpose of your life. Why have you come? What is the purpose of your life? Apart from Atmakaraka, it is also the yoga which is happening up above the sky when you are born. Will you complete it or will you not complete it? So those 5 elements are the Panchanga that we were talking about. Okay. Now, what are the important considerations? Okay. These are some things which are very important. You have to check the Tithi Pravesh Lagna with respect to the Rashi Lagna. Rashi Lagna means your basic horoscope, original horoscope, right? For example, let's say my Lagna is Aries. Okay. This is my natal Lagna. Okay. And my, let's say this year Tithi Pravesh Lagna can be Leo. Okay. Then we can say that from the natal Lagna, Tithi Pravesh Lagna is the 5th, which is trines. Right? So it is always like the Tithi Pravesh will have a certain Lagna, bring it back to the Rashi. Yeah, and see where it fits. Okay. If it is fitting in Kendra, let's say if it was Karka, then it is Kendra, then you will be very happy in that year. Generally very happy. Your kids have kids, some marriage is there, your generally there's some good news in the family. Your kids started working, they got the job, promotion ho gaya, ye wo. Generally a happy year. If it is in trines, then it is very good for financial prosperity. You can grow financially. If you want to start something new, that is very, very good year. Why? Because financially it is rewarding. Investments, very good for investments. Because that particular year is saying that, hey, this could be very good year. So this is where let's say you want to write a book, which will make you happy. Then do it in the year where it is in Kendra to your Lagna. Let's say you want to write a book which will monetize you. Or you want to become a great writer who is going to give you a lot of revenue later on, even if you are dead and gone. Then do it while the Tithi Pravesh is in trines. Very good. You will keep on getting royalty. If it is in Dushtana, 6, 8 or 12, then it is showing a lot of troubles. Or shall we say, at times it can mean a lot of transformation. Sometimes troubles, but sometimes it can be good also. Now this is the A part of it. What is the B part of it? B part of it is Hora Lagna. Hora Lord is the one which is going to force the event. So in the Tithi Pravesh chart, you will have something called as Hora Lord. That Lord becomes extremely important in the Tithi Pravesh chart. Where is it placed? What is the objective of that Hora Lagna Lord? Which event is it forcing on that year? Will you visit a doctor, or will you visit an astrologer, or will you visit a top politician because he wants to meet you, or a top whatever business owner, or what sort of event is being forced? Or will you start teaching that year? Will you start writing that year? Will you start doing meditation that year? Will you meet your guru that year? There can be various things. A lot of you might be thinking every year that, hey, I want to learn Jyotish, I want to learn in a structured way, enough of learning it via YouTube, etc. I want to go to a proper guru and learn it. Things do get triggered based on the Tithi Pravesh. Yeah. Your Varesh is going to show your attitude, energy, and the protection that is going to come to you that year. So you will be born, right? I was born on Monday when I was born. But in this year's Tithi Pravesh chart, maybe it is happening, let's say, on Wednesday. So then Mercury becomes extremely important. Are you understanding? So that is the protection that I have for that year. Is it going to give me protection, or is it going to make me, sort of very vulnerable? Is it protecting me, or is it cursing me? All those factors become very important. So Hora Lord, you will see for wealth, etc. Whereas Varesh, you will see in terms of how is your energy, how is your general health. How are you dealing with people in general? What circumstances are you creating for the Hora Lord to force the event to happen? For example, when Shani is the Varesh, you can say you will have problems, basically health problems also, because Shani is not a very positive planet. If Mangal is there, then you will have legal problems. Why? Because Mangal rules legal issues or security issues. Your websites can be hacked. You have to check if your antivirus is up to date, so on and so forth, small things. If Jupiter is there, then fantastic, you will learn a lot. You can meet a guru, you can start teaching. If Mercury is there, then sometimes you can be very, very careless or carefree. You can behave like a child. Yeah. Now what happens? Varesh in 6, 8, 12 is not good. Why? Because again, they are Dushtanas. And finally, the Nakshatra Lord, we will see for health. Okay. But generally, when you talk about Tithi Pravesh, there is something called as Nakshatra Pravesh also. There is something called as Tithi Pravesh. There is something that you can basically do a lot of things based on that. Okay. Now, a few important notes I have given you before, we sort of, I give you some important stuff. 8th house is going to show you your past karmas manifesting. Whenever, for example, if in Tithi Pravesh, let's say I'm Aries Lagna and my Tithi Pravesh rising this year is Scorpio. So Scorpio, when I bring back to my Rashi chart, is the 8th from Aries, right? So we can say that, okay, some past life is manifesting. It's a year of great transformation. So sometimes, most of the times I've seen it is quite challenging, except if you are a very spiritual soul. If you are a spiritual soul, then it can actually show some, you are moving ahead, your chakras are going up, your meditation is getting even more powerful and intense, so on and so forth, right? Now, why am I talking about the 8th house? See, always remember that when it comes to a chart, there are 2 signs which have dual signs, right? The 8th house and the 11th house, which is Scorpio and Aquarius. Scorpio, the second lord is very important, is Ketu, ruling rebirth. Right? For Aquarius, the second lord is Rahu. Sorry, this is Moksha. And Rahu, which is ruling rebirth. So these 2 signs are always opposite. Why? Because Ketu is looking for transformation, Rahu is looking for gains. And then when you are looking for too much of gains, too much of money-mindedness, too much of rajas, so to say, then there is a more chance of generating tamas over a period of time. If you are having too much focus on the transformation, then there is a chance of converting to sattva over a period of time. And ultimately, Ketu will give you moksha. Otherwise, Rahu is going to ensure you to get your rebirth. Okay. So this 8th house and 11th house becomes very important, right? You are reborn because of Rahu. You will ultimately get Ketu. You need Ketu for moksha. And there is Rahu Ketu because Ketu did not give you moksha. Hence, Ketu is very much there. Right? So we have to understand this, especially this 8th house is showing that your past life karma. In those cases, whenever there is 8th house effect, check your Rashi Navamsha also. Because Navamsha is ultimately your overall amalgamation, right? For this birth. So if in Tithi Pravesh it is showing that 8th house is getting activated, you also want to check the Rashi Navamsha because there is some karma which is going to manifest in a big way. Okay. So this 6, 8 and 12, we want to really be very careful. Why? Because this is your Dushtana. When moon is in 1 or 7, fame is guaranteed in a good or bad way. Whenever in Tithi Pravesh chart, you see whatever Lagna, moon in Lagna or moon in 7th house. You can tell your client right away that, hey, listen, you are going to get very famous. Or you can tell them that, hey, listen, be a lot in social. Attend a lot of meetings, meet your lot of clients, show your face, post regularly, be active on social media, so on and so forth. If they are already on social media, they are an influencer or something like that, you can tell them that, hey, listen, this is the year where you are finally going to get viral, right? Because all these social media influencers have similar question to me. When will I get viral? What should I do? Blah, blah, blah. Then this is the thing that you need to check. When is that real fame coming? When their following will become, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, so on and so forth. Whereas 8th house is the house of transformation. Mercury in the 8th house is superb for finances. Absolutely superb. Everybody will invest in you. Everybody will pay you. Everybody wants to be part of your mission. Everybody wants to sign a retainer with you. Everybody wants to sort of be a part of you, wants a part of you, wants to open up their purses for you. Right? So very, very important thing, for an entrepreneur. I've seen some astrologers, scare their clients saying that Mercury is in the 8th house. Hey, come on. The person is an entrepreneur. It's going to be a fantastic year for them. Right? So check where the Tithi Pravesh Lagna is with respect to your Rashi Lagna to understand the manifestation of the events. And as I told you, the Hora Lagna will be very important because that is going to help us in terms of understanding what is going to trigger. The Varesh is the protection and ultimately the energy with which you can trigger the events in an upward direction or the downward direction. Okay. Now, this is the last slide for today. We want to talk about the best remedy. See, next week or the next webinar, we will talk about the example charts and we'll take the concepts that we have studied today, in advance, right? But today, I wanted to end up because some of you might have Tithi Pravesh right away, right? Right away, we know that the concept of this birth was based on the concept of Shiva and Shakti. Right? So indirectly, I told you that the remedy remains in the Shivalinga. Irrespective of we are a Vaishnavite, Shaivite, you follow whatever, in case you can't do it, at least on your Tithi Pravesh day, tell your Pandit or a local priest to do a proper remedy for you. If you know some specific mantras, you should do it on specific mantra. If you have a Surya Yantra, then ensure that you do your remedies on the Surya Yantra. Please, for God's sake, it will work magic. And most of my students already have it. But if not, then you should consider it. And then even generally, because it is the Pratyadi Devta, of Surya, so on and so forth. It works superb. Now, you need to do in the Panchamrita, and you can sometimes select just one element of the Panchamrita. Okay. If let's say your health is very bad, or the Tithi Pravesh chart shows that your health is going to be very, very bad, let's say 6, 8, or 12 is heavily impacted, then you can only do Dugdha Abhishek, only with milk. Sometimes if you feel that, see, sometimes what happens is your purity goes away. Sometimes, when people are raped, and I'm not talking about just the female, even males are raped. I know of a, guy coming to me, this is around 4, 5 years back. And he was feeling very, very yucky about his whole body. He was crying profusely in front of me, and he told me how many times he was raped and this, that. Anyways, to cut the story short, I told him that, listen, forget everything, take this Shivalinga, take this, Surya Yantra, ensure you offer water every day. And he was on the brink of contemplating a suicide. And I could see that through his eyes, that I was probably his last ditch effort. And if he didn't get any hope, then he would do something very crazy. But by God's grace, he does that even now. Every day he offers water to Shivalinga. Once a year, Tithi Pravesh, he will do proper Rudra Abhishek. He'll call the priest to his house and does it. So purity or water sort of helped him to sort of reconcile or accept the facts. And later on, he was able to be at peace with his body. And we all are impure to that extent, right? Nobody can say that I'm 100% pure. No. We all have impure thoughts. We do things which are not correct. So we all want to have a purity. Honey is for wealth. If you're going through real financial crunch, you need to add a little honey. Shahad. The bay leaf, the bel patta, over here, what I see, is basically to end the conflict. We all have so many conflicts, right? Some are in the physical form, some are manifested, some are in the mental form, not yet manifested, but we are all fighting in the mind. So offering the green, offering the leaf is something which cleans up the conflict. Yogurt is for prosperity, kids, etc. Generally, all this put together, sometimes you can add ghee also, all those things. There are also different ways to make Panchamrita, depending on the horoscope. So the best thing is you always offer it as a Panchamrita. Generally, if you do it with professionally, you offer it individually, right? If you know to go to Kashi Vishwanath, etc., you will see that whole plate is there. Your milk is separate, the water is separate, the honey is separate. There is a bel patta, this, that. But generally, what you do at home, etc., you make a mixture of all this thing and add yogurt, mix it together, and then you proper do it. Okay. So this is a remedy till we meet, during our next webinar. Now I have simple assignment for you all. Okay. Before we meet next time, try and make your Tithi Pravesh. Okay. See if you can sort of do your own Tithi Pravesh. Second is, the next webinar we are going to do after I'm back from Spain is on the April of 27th April. Okay. If you want any specific chart, not your own, please. Some famous people chart. There are people from different countries, looking at me, watching me right now. If you have a specific chart that you are interested, send their details. If you have made a chart, send those details, but, almost okay chart, right? Not that, it is not rectified. I'm not saying you rectify it to the seconds, but at least, 95% sure that this is at least the Rashi Lagna. Small other rectifications I'll do, but if you want to be included, those chart, email them, to my team and on contact@kartikgo.com, or you can also WhatsApp Akash, right? The details are there on my website. Else, take down this number or WhatsApp number +97150 426 9688. This is the number of my help desk. The gentleman over there is Akash. And you can WhatsApp him or Telegram him. Okay. And he would be very happy to help you. Yeah. So I want you all to sort of start working on it, and I'm sure it will help you a lot in terms of understanding the Tithi Pravesh and how it works. Okay. And you will have a lot of clarity. See, next time when we meet, I'm going to help you with a very, very important concept in terms of, now that we have learned it, how are we going to decipher the understanding? What is the logical explanation, or how is the applicability of the knowledge going to happen, right? Because at the end of the day, there is no point on learning the theory without practicals, right? So we are going to do it in the second webinar, and which is there on the 27th. If you are part of my mailing list, obviously you'll get a link to sort of enroll yourself. Nonetheless, be part of my Facebook or LinkedIn. You will anyways get it there as well. Yeah. So thank you so much. I have shared my review link. If you have liked it, please share an honest review on the Google page. Don't just give 5-star rating and that's it. The reason why I ask review is that Jyotish is a mission, right? It's not just a part of my life. It is my life, right? And then when you write logical reviews in terms of, what was the logical benefit for you in terms of the takeaways, etc. What will happen is somebody else who has never learned Jyotish will look at the review and feel that, okay, this doesn't look like a bought out review, because I don't buy reviews, as you know. Genuine reviews, then people will that, and who knows, you might take up the good karma of motivating somebody else, learn Jyotish. And at the end of the day, the whole world will have this beautiful knowledge, will be able to see the basic Panchanga. Nobody is going to call the astrologer again asking, Kaartik ji, when is Ekadashi, or, when is the Tithi Pravesh? Basic things, they would be able to do it on their own. And in olden days, I've never seen my grandfather, grandmother ever ask anybody, when is Ekadashi? They would open the Panchanga and they would check it for themselves. They would know that. Unfortunately, we trying to become secular, or we have completely, that Gurukul system has gone away, right? I hope you all agree. So thank you so much for your time. I'll see you soon. Namah Shivaya. Take care of yourself and keep learning. God bless you. Namah Shivaya.